All right, David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com backstage at RFO Mansfield Mayhem 12 with RFO promoter Matt Truckovich. Already an awesome start to the card. I think almost all first round finishes on the first part of the card. Talk a little bit about some of these up and coming guys out there that already got their their wins on the undercard.
A lot of these guys have a good high school wrestling background. We did have two go to their second round tonight. Big finishes. We got a good submission, a good knockout from Bill Gingrey with Ryan Lose. That was my fight of the night pick, and he finished it early, but it was a great fight up until that point. Yeah, you got to watch out. Nowadays, these high school wrestlers, that was it. Now they have an outlet to come into MMA, and you can see it in their skill level.
Right, and definitely, obviously, an all-amateur card, but no shortage of talent even on the undercard. And obviously, I know you have a title fight coming up. Something that I'm interested. John Gunther came in on like 3 days' notice to fighting your main event in a title fight against Jake Anderson. Can you just talk a little bit about having a guy like that from a gym? I know from the Fight Farm with a gym that you have a really good relationship with. But I know one of your big things is guys who always step up and take fights and real fighters. Is
exactly.
That something? But just talk a little bit about a guy like that.
John Gunther is a real fighter. He'll fight anybody. That's what he does. He wants to fight, and a guy that wants to fight will fight. And it helps to have friends in the business because they understand when you're in need. And when he's in need, I'll help him. But I was in need. I needed a fight. That was my main event. It was huge for him to step up. And I don't even think a short notice you're not going to see a short notice fighter. You're going to see John Gunther ready to go.
And I know, obviously, we're at Mansfield Mayhem 12 tonight, but coming up September 1st, I think, is your next Pro-Am card.
That's right.
I heard that Cody Stevens is going to be on that card, he told me. Yeah. Is there anything else you can tell us about that card at this point?
Cody Stevens will be making his 135 debut. That's right where he should be. He's natural. He walks around at 45 or 50. He should be at 35. He's cut out some of the weightlifting. There's more fight training, less weights. It's not about what you look like. It's a matter of getting your hand raised, and he's figuring that out now.
Right, and I know you said you had the biggest announcement in RFO history coming up later tonight. Can you give us a little bit of a hint of maybe what that'll be?
Yeah, this fight was the hardest fight I've ever prepared for, getting it paired up. And it's fired me up again, and I'll be fighting November 17th right here in Mansfield versus Russ Halsley. Russ has a lot of tools. He's a great fighter. I don't want to come back and fight a guy doesn't have a reputation. He's a tough guy. He's got a lot of big wins. And that's who I'm going to be fighting November 17th.
All right, you heard it here first on GatewayMMA.com. Matt Truckovich stepping back into the cage out of his promoter shoes into his fighter shoes. So we'll be looking out for that coming up in November. All right, David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with main event winner Jake Anderson. Come in, you fight John Gunther, who took the fight on 3 days' notice. It was a heck of a war, and you got the guillotine in the third round. Can you just talk a little bit about the fight?
Yeah, it was a real tough fight. Got this fight on short notice. My original opponent got hurt in training, so neither of us really had time to game plan. It was just kind of go in there and fight and just see what happens. And I was able to find my range there, I believe, early on in the second round, and I finally felt comfortable. And the guillotine just happened to fall in there, I think, because we were so sweaty. Right. And then he just kind of went to sleep, I guess.
Right, and you come to Ohio all the way from Jamestown, New York. Obviously, MMA not legal in the state of New York, but you come here and you bring a heck of a crowd every time you come. How important is it for you to kind of have a home away from home here in Ohio, for a place where you can fight every time?
First off, our fans are amazing. It's not legal in New York, so when they travel with us, it means a lot. Tonight was really the first time in about 2 years that I felt like I was fighting at home. And not just with our fans, but we kind of started to build up a little following ourselves among all the local fans as well, because we just want to come in here and fight and put on the best show possible. And we're able to do that on a consistent basis.
Right, and you come in 6-2 as an amateur, and you said after the fight that you're thinking about going pro. Is that something that you're going to do at 170 or 155, and what's the timetable on going pro?
I am going pro, probably on the RFO's next card. I believe rumor is September 1st, and I'll be dropping down to 155. I've been down close to that weight before, so I don't think it'll be too much of a problem to actually weigh in at 155. And I've accomplished everything I wanted to at the amateur level, so there's really not much else for me here. So I want to step up and really test my skill level and see where I'm at and see how far I can take this thing.
Right, and you mentioned I saw after we did before we did the interview, you went over and shook John Gunther's hand. He was all bloodied, but definitely a guy, a game fighter. Can you just talk a little about kind of a guy like that being ready to fight? I know you said you've been preparing for this fight for a long time, so.
Yeah, I was originally slated to fight Niles Hootman, but he got injured. He injured his ankle, I believe Wednesday or Tuesday. So we both Matt was able to throw this together and pick up John, who I've got so much respect for him to step in and take the fight such short notice. It really meant a lot to me, and he's a tough guy because I know I landed some hard shots. My hand hurts, and he just took them. He was still standing the whole time, and I got a lot of respect for him. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of potential.
All right, man. Anything else you want to mention?
I got to thank Caboose Clothing, Intimidation, Luke Jernigan, everybody over there, phenomenal guys. Kinetics Combat Sports, our team there, works with me every single day, 2-3 times a day to develop my skills. Art Volgamore and the late Mike Tome, who really kind of brought MMA to southwestern New York and got me started and just laid the foundation for everybody else to build upon. And here we are. And I got to thank, of course, all the fans that came out and supported us tonight. It really felt like we were fighting back in Jamestown.
Right, and David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com here with RFO welterweight champion Jake Anderson. Last time you'll see him in the cage as an amateur. Next time will be as a pro, hopefully in September. David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with fan favorite, co-main event winner, Karate Mike Williams. Picked up a victory, your third win in a row over Brandon Poindexter. Can you just talk a little bit about the fight?
Well, I know he was a kickboxer. I'm actually a kickboxer too. He came out swinging. He right in the very beginning got me right in the rib. He broke it right off the bat. That hurt a little bit. I knew if I could get him down to the ground, I had better jiu-jitsu than him, and ultimately that's what won it.
Right, in the second round, you got the fight to the ground. You hit a sweep and then slammed your way out of the armbar. It seemed like that was definitely where the tide turned, and then obviously you got the choke. And can you just talk a little about, I know obviously you said you wanted to get to the ground, but was that something, maybe him coming in, hit 5 losses in a row, but he needed a win. Did you think that he was going to be desperate coming out in this fight?
Well, I mean, there was a little bit of crap talking from I just beat one of his guys right before this, and there's a little bit of crap talking on his part about making weight and whatnot. And I don't know. I knew he was coming off a couple losses, and I don't want to say there was bad blood, but he needed the win. I needed this win so I can go pro, and so I wouldn't say there was bad blood, but it was definitely an important fight for both of us.
Right, and your third straight win, and I believe your first time at 145. Definitely, obviously came out and looked good. You weathered the storm early. Is that what's next for you going pro, and what's the timetable on that, if so?
I'm gonna call the athletic commission actually probably Monday, and I'm definitely gonna go pro. I could have went pro a while back, and I actually lost to another Evolve guy, Kenny Jackson, and that screwed it up. So now I'm a little more seasoned, I think. So I'm definitely ready to go pro as soon as possible. No more titles, just want to go pro.
All right, man. Anything else you want to mention tonight?
No, I just want to thank all my fans at Gateway MMA. Everybody. I love this sport. That's what I do. Love it.
All right, David McKinney backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with fan favorite Karate Mike Williams. David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with Brock Mowry, victorious first-round TKO over Mike Garcher. You got the fight to the ground quick, got his back, and then eventually got the victory. Talk about the fight a little bit.
Yeah, well, I knew I had to keep it slow just because I have a problem with my gas, but I wanted to go at my pace, so I stood, just felt him out a little bit, and then when it was time, I took him to the ground. That's where I'm comfortable.
Right, and obviously, like you said, you got the rear naked choke at the fight. Was that sort of your game plan, was to get the fight to the ground and then work your magic? I know he's kind of a striker, so yeah. Probably that was your game plan?
It was. When I started to choke, I only had one hand under there, and I think he was hurt pretty bad. And I started choking, and saw him spit his mouthpiece out, so I knew it was just going to be seconds until I could sink it all the way in.
Right, and you move up to 4-1 now. You fought Dustin Whalen for the RFO middleweight title. I know that you said you were winning 2 rounds and gassed out in the 3rd round. I'm sure that's a fight that you want back. Is that maybe what's next for you?
I don't know. That's definitely a fight I want back, and you know, goes out to Dustin, but I was shooting everything I had at him, and he was just taking it, and I just gassed out. But I think for now I just got to the new gym. I'm going to take some time off and train and get my weight right and my cardio up. So.
Right, and you said you moved to All Out Assault about 3 weeks ago. How crazy is that, you know, coming in a couple weeks before a fight, you know, with a new gym?
It was pretty wild, but I knew that if I wanted to contend in this fight, that was something I had to do. And the move was just the right time, and I had enough time to prepare for this fight. So.
All right, anything else you want to mention tonight?
I just want to thank All Out Assault and my other corners, R.D. Webb and Steve Durig, for being there for me and training with me.
All right, David McKinney backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with victorious middleweight Brock Mowry. David McKinney from GatewayMMA.com backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with Raymond the Reaper Yanez, victorious via split decision this time. Another war with Victor Guariello. Just talk a little bit about the fight, man.
It was a good fight. It was back and forth, but I don't think it was a split. I think I won all 3 rounds. But hey, you know, it was a good fight. I'll fight him any day. He's a good fighter. He brings out the best in me, and I hope I do the same for him.
Right, and it definitely seemed like his game plan was to keep the pressure on you. But obviously your wrestling showed, you know, you controlled most of the fight. Was that your game plan? It looked like your game plan was to kind of try to keep it standing a little bit. And I know maybe you hurt your hand a little bit there. But, I mean, you definitely were throwing a lot of shots. Was that your game plan?
Yeah, you know, the first fight, he just took me down more than I wanted to, and I'm a better wrestler than that. So I wanted to keep it standing because I know I can stuff his takedown. So I figured if I can stuff his takedown, frustrate him, he has no shot standing, and that's what you saw tonight.
Right, and you're you know, firmly entrenched at 125 as an amateur. You had 18 fights as an amateur, a long amateur career. You mentioned after the fight that you're going to go pro. Is that something that you're definitely going to do, and what's the timetable on that?
Yeah, I'm ready to go pro. I would have went pro after my last fight, but you know, I couldn't find nothing, so I didn't want to wait too long, and so I took this last fight. But yeah, we're gonna start looking around, and you'll see me 125 pro.
All right. Anything else you want to mention tonight?
I just want to thank everybody for support, and you guys will see me more. Thank you.
All right, David McKinney backstage at Mansfield Mayhem 12 with Raymond the Reaper Yanez.